Welcome to Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society. I'm Will, and I'm joined today by the one and only Simon Wilson. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Will.
By way of introduction, you are a radio host, is that correct? And a DJ,
That's right, yes.
and formerly a vampire?
Yeah, right. Well, I actually started off in clubs in the 80s as a DJ. And it was through that I got into film work because after hours, a lot of the club scenes were shot in actual clubs, and
Oh,
they
wow.
were looking for like likely lads to hang around at the bar and things like this. And so that's how I got into film work in Hong Kong in the 80s, by being an extra in the background of movies. So there's actually I would say there's somewhere between about 40 and 50 movies out there with me lurking in the background.
That's great. Just like at the clubs and stuff.
Yeah, at the clubs and stuff. Sometimes as a police officer, since foreign police officers were in demand in the 80s then.
Okay. Did you get to say some fun lines as police officer, or were you just like silent lurking police officer?
No, I got also to say some lines and even use the megaphone because I was brought up in Hong Kong, so I speak Cantonese quite reasonably.
Okay.
So yeah, I was quite lucky in that respect, that quite quickly given some speaking lines.
So, but you were born in England, is that correct? And then you
Born in the UK, but been out here since I was like 8-9 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so did you go to, this is nothing to do with the movies, but when you go to school there, is it like an international school where you speak English, or did you just go to like a
I
regular
went to
school?
school in the UK. I went to school in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after I left school, I've been here ever since, apart from some trips around Asia, DJing and stuff.
So one of the questions that I was asked to ask you by Arna, our mutual friend, was Hong Kong in the 80s as cool as it seems to be? Because it seems to be the coolest place in the world.
Well, I'm sure everywhere will tell you that it was the coolest place in the world at that
Yeah.
time. And the 80s were, let's face it, a pretty cool time. It was, globally, it was an age of freedom like we haven't seen before, or like we've seen since. So yeah, if you ask me, was Hong Kong the best place on the planet, then it kind of was. And as a DJ, as a young DJ, it was a lot of fun.
That's great. So the film we're here to talk about the most is Vampire's Breakfast, which was released in 1987, and in which you play the vampire. But is that like, did you, before you were in that movie, did you like audition for anything, or did you just get these parts because you ended up like lurking in the background, as you say?
Well, I was at another club, an after hours club, and there was the producer was going around looking for someone to play the vampire, and he saw me, and then after he spoke to me, and because I speak Cantonese as well, which was a big plus. Okay. So then the director could explain stuff in Cantonese rather than having to use a translator. So yeah, that's how I got into that. But you might have noticed that I'm not the only vampire in that movie.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Because well, they had another guy first, a German guy, I believe he was, and he did the opening scene, which was shot in Lan Kwai Fong, which is like our party area in town. And he did the first scene, which was just light makeup, nothing too heavy, and that was fine. And then the next day, because the director had the idea that the vampire was going to gradually degenerate as the movie went on. So that first day of shooting was the lightest makeup. And then after that, it went into those 2-3 hour makeup sessions. And after the first one, he spat the dummy and was like, no, I'm out of here. So yeah, so then they jump shot the rest of the movie as best they could without the vampire. And while they're looking for a vampire to fill in. And you'll notice at the blood bank scene that the stuntman took a lot more of the shots than was necessary, because there was no Guilo vampire, there was no foreign vampire then. So, and it doesn't quite work. You can see there are a couple of shots where you can make out that it's a Chinese guy made up as a
I was wondering
European
about that.
vampire.
Yeah, and I read something online about I don't know if this is like a fan theory or on someone's blog, but there's some theory that there is actually a nest of vampires and there's supposed to be multiple vampires in the movie.
There was only ever supposed to be one, but that was
Okay.
the problem. The one that was supposed to be there quit after the first scene. So, but yeah, no, I stepped up to the plate, and it was it was a lot of hard work having that makeup done. It was a good 2 to 3 hour session just to get ready, and then you got to bring your A game, and you're talking about 33 degrees Celsius heat, 95%
Jeez.
humidity, not much fun at all.
Oh,
Not
that
much
sounds
fun at
horrible.
all.
Yeah.
It was
And
like, yeah,
was it all night shoots?
mostly, yes. Yeah, there was one where the special effect when the head flies off the thing that
Yes.
was that was done in a studio in the daytime, but everything else was pretty much nighttime, being a vampire's breakfast or
Yeah.
midnight snack as it actually is in Cantonese.
Is that what
But
it is? Yeah, I was wondering why it's called
yeah,
that. Okay.
it's called midnight snack in Cantonese, which is kind of why they put the vampire in the breakfast, because we don't really have a midnight snack. You
Okay.
know what I mean? But Chinese it's a popular thing in to have a little something to eat before you go to bed, and
Okay.
that's the wordplay that it's with. But yeah, since it all happened mostly at night, and a lot of the locations were just, and this was it. I got to say, Wong Jung, the director, he was very ambitious because he used a lot of like actual locations in Hong Kong rather than using sets. And like the church, that's no longer there. That was all
Oh
taken,
wow.
that was pulled down about 9 or 10 months after the movie was shot. And they were very kind to let us in. They didn't let us into the actual church area,
Hmm.
which I can understand. You don't
Yeah.
really want people dressed up as vampires running through a church, even if it has been decommissioned. It's not that cool, but it still would have been nice to have like the lead actor walk through the church looking for the vampire that wasn't actually there, just because the architecture in there was absolutely phenomenal. It was a
Yeah, that
beautiful,
whole setting of that scene is incredible. Yeah.
yeah. It was, but he did chose his locations really really well. And then there was the vampire house, which was another actual house. It was a former mansion, and it was up near Hopewell Centre, which now has been knocked down and redeveloped into a massive block of flats.
Oh wow. Yeah. I sometimes look up like I find out where movies in Hong Kong are filmed and I look them up on Google Earth or whatever and it looks absolutely nothing. Like it just seems like the city changes so much.
It's changed a great deal, and just in the time that I've been here. But yeah, that's the thing. Hong Kong, it doesn't get that Blade Runner skyline by keeping its old stuff.
Yeah. So the director, well, he was in tons of movies, wasn't he, as an actor?
He was a famous actor himself, and this was his directorial debut. So
Oh wow.
it, yeah, it's good to see that it stood the test of time, and it's a testament to just his tenacity, that so many things went wrong and yet he still kept pushing through it. Because as they say, 90% of movies never get made,
Yeah.
and that this one could have been in that group. It's like,
Yeah.
but no, the testament was that he did actually get it done and finished, and it's pretty good for a B movie.
I thought it was great. Yeah. I'm
I'm
really
very
happy to
proud
have
to be
discovered it.
associated with it.
Is it as an actor, do you find it easier working with a director who was an actor? Like, is it easier for them to communicate with you, or does it not make a difference really?
Um, this was quite an easy part, because when I was signed up, I was told I'd be playing a vampire, and I imagined more like Dracula. So I imagined a little bit more dramatic effect rather than just a monster vampire.
Yeah.
So I was kind of looking forward to using my charm to seduce the
Ooh.
female like vampires do,
Yeah.
right? so so that was less necessary. It was more a makeup driven monster. slasher movie, bless.
Did you watch? Because when I was a kid, I loved monster movies. Like, were you a fan? Was this exciting for you to be a vampire?
It was kind of cool, and yeah, I've always appreciated the bad guys in movies. It's like, when you look at something like Highlander, which, if you look at it on paper, it's like, really, you've got a Scottish guy playing a Madagascan, and you've got a Belgian guy playing a Scot, and it's like, and yeah, it's a cult classic.
Yeah.
Why? Because the baddie was just so phenomenal in Highlander that you were rooting for them all to beat him. It was like, yeah, I love a good baddie. It's essential to a good movie. If you haven't got a strong baddie, then what do you need a hero for?
Yes, I actually would talk sometimes with my friends about the kind of like the decline of screen villain, because you don't get great villains anymore, I feel like. So uh what was it like a happy set to be on? Was everyone getting along really well? And
Yeah, oh, it was a good set, and food came on time. That's the main thing with the with Hong Kong, because Hong Kong people, it's like, you can ask us to work 18, 20 hours, just don't bring lunch late.
yeah, that's the one rule. Yeah.
That's the one rule. When people are hungry, don't ask them to work through lunch. Tell them, oh, we need another 8 hours after your lunch is here. It's like, boom, and it's no problem. So yeah, it was actually a good set to be on, and they looked after me very, very well. The guy who did the makeup was absolutely phenomenal. Because he was looking for what looks the best, but he also didn't want to compromise safety.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Because some of the effects were done rather old school, if you could put it that way.
There's a couple scenes in the movie where the scene where the sunlight hits you and the blood starts is that when the blood starts all coming out? Like, how do they do that?
That, first of all, right, see, because the whole makeup process started with a clean shave, because you got to
Okay.
be clean shaven. Then he put on, like, it was like one of these masks that he used for cleaning your pores.
Oh,
And he,
okay, yeah.
and he put that on to bond to my face first, and then he put it's like Elmer's wood glue
Oh, wow.
on top of that, and then on top of that he'd put some like cling film,
Okay.
and then put a little bit more wood glue, and then he'd get the texture on the face, and then he'd dry that, then paint it, and then a couple more layers, and build it up like that. So it at the end it would like peel off like a
Oh,
big.
wow. So
It
there
was,
wasn't
yeah.
you didn't have a long process of taking all the makeup off and stuff. You just take it off in one go.
It came off in 5 minutes. It,
Oh,
it,
that's great.
it took 3 hours to put on, but it came off in 5 minutes. It was quite phenomenal. It would just peel away, and then off it would come. But yeah, it
So when
was.
excuse me. So if there's blood like coming out of that, or is there just like a hose that they're feeding it
So
through, or is it?
so for that particular shot, the first thing he did after he'd done put the base layer on was he then stuck tubes on my face,
Okay.
and they all went down and round the back. And these tubes were like under the thing, and then put the makeup on top of it. And then they'd all be charged and off camera, and they'd squeeze them through hypodermics, and it popped out like that.
That's
It's
great.
just, so there are like 4 or 5 people off screen all squeezing massive hypodermics.
That's so good.
It's very ingenious, and it looks
It
phenomenal.
looks so
It
good. Yeah, it
it
really
it
does.
yeah. And the other one was the holy water in the face.
Oh yeah.
Now that was so difficult to shoot, because the way that was done was, first of all, I was all done in makeup, and I had water splashed in my face.
Okay.
And then they did the special effects shot, which was then I had my face all dried off, another layer of glue applied. Just as it was almost dry, some Epsom salts was applied to the top. Now, I didn't want to splash the face, because if you get Epsom salts in your eyes, then you can kiss an eye goodbye.
Yeah.
So what they did was they got one of these things that it's like a spray gun when you do the ironing.
Oh,
that,
yeah. Okay.
that just sprays out a very light mist. So once again, people were off camera spraying this light mist till it all starts bubbling on the
That's
face, which
amazing.
is just, yeah. Again, Hong Kong filmmakers' ingenuity to get a special effect out of like everyday household goods.
It's what is the environment on the set very much like? Because I've obviously I've never been on the set of a Hong Kong film. I've only really been in. I live in Los Angeles, and I've been in some sets here, and from what I've heard, it's completely different there, and it's much more of like everyone is kind of just trying to figure it out and working together. And like, does it have that kind of feel?
It certainly does, because these days it's changed a little bit, but back then there was no script.
Oh wow.
There's no storyboard. There's nothing. The whole movie was a page and a half of A4. So he basically, yeah, he had just brief summaries of the scenes and the thing. So all the dialogue you hear in the movie is actually ad-libbed by the actors. The director saying like, okay, the purpose of this scene, what's going to happen in this scene is this, like, you're going to bring her back and introduce her to your mum and boom, boom, boom. And all that dialogue was done by the actors. It wasn't actually scripted.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a highly creative environment, but you know, when things go right, they can be absolutely phenomenal. When things go wrong, it's real.
Yeah, it can be a recipe for disaster, I bet. Yeah.
Well, if you haven't got a plan, it's really difficult to know. If you got no map, then you know,
yeah,
it can be difficult. But yeah, a lot of Hong Kong movies used to be done that way, simply because, well, we used to, back in 1985, 86 time, Hong Kong was making maybe 450 movies a year.
It's just insane, yeah.
And that's done. You can't storyboard everything. You can't script everything. You have to get on with it. And, you know, the producer of the movie because you couldn't get loans from the bank to make movies.
Okay.
So the producer of the movie has to mortgage his house to get the money to make the movie.
Finance.
It's like, yeah. So when they say everything's on the line, everything really is on the line.
Like, was that a Cinema City movie? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes,
or
that
is it?
Was. Yeah, no.
Which is is that Choi Hark's company? Was it? Or he worked for them?
He worked for them, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And this is changing lanes a little bit, but I've heard that Kent Chang speaks English really well and is very nice. Did you hang out with him at all? Or?
He is a lovely guy and thoroughly professional. I mean, there were all sorts of rumors about, like, oh, he's possessed by a ghost and things like this.
Why did they think he was?
Yeah, Hong Kong's full of superstition. But the thing that he did was absolutely phenomenal, because he was actually working on 3 or 4 movies during this.
Oh wow!
So he would go off to another set and shoot other stuff, and then he'd come back, and and it was the most amazing thing. He'd be sitting in his chair, and he'd be sleeping, and he'd be snoring louder than a bus. And then they'd be ready for him. They'd come along and they'd say, "Kent, come on." He'd get up, he'd pick up this thing, he'd wipe his face down, he'd go like this, and he'd be good to go. It was just phenomenal. It was the most amazing thing I'd seen. And I kept watching this thinking, no, one time they're not going to be able to wake him. He's going to have gone over that. And he's just going to be, and no, it never happened.
That's
it
great.
Never happened. Just boom and up and straight at it. Absolutely phenomenal.
So the other scene I wanted to ask about that I totally forgot about, we were talking about the makeup stuff, is but when they cut your head off and the head is still alive and flying around. How did that happen?
Well, the flying scene?
Yeah.
Well, that was done with a head on a wire.
Okay.
At a location. But the shot to have me going like that before the head flew,
yeah,
that they had to construct a false floor.
Oh, so you were like underneath?
With the circle left in it just big enough to get my neck in, so that I just and that was the one scene that was shot during the day, because it was shot in a studio.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that's how they did that one. But yeah, my mum and dad came around that day
Did
because they were
they?
still in Hong Kong. Yeah, and so that was nice for them to see.
I bet. What did they think about like seeing you with all the makeup on and like being a vampire and stuff?
It was a lot of fun. It was certainly a lot of fun. And the best thing I think for my mum was towards the end of the movie, because we still had that last shot to do, the one with the head, and they hadn't managed to get things done. But I was supposed to leave to go and DJ in Shanghai,
Oh wow!
and yeah, so because I was the first foreign resident DJ in China,
Wow, were
and
you really?
yeah,
That's awesome. That's a really cool claim to. Yeah.
yeah, for my sins, I got some medals. But yeah, so the Shanghai crew were like, you're supposed to fly to Shanghai today, and the movie crew were like, oh, we need him for one more scene. We need him for one more scene. And to see two employers arguing over me, I think was a happy moment for
That
me.
must be pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was her favorite moment in it all. But yeah, managed to come to an agreement. I think some money exchanged hands, and
Okay. As it does. Yeah.
as it does, exactly. Well, I was very clear that I did need to leave by that day.
Okay.
That was the thing, because they said to me, "Are you sure you can do this?" And look, I will commit, but you have to have it finished by this day. And I'm like,
How long were you on the movie for? Do you remember?
it took quite a while. There was a good 12, 13 days of shooting, but then it took ages to put the makeup on, and then like quite often, even when the makeup was done, the lighting hadn't been set up and stuff, which was like, really,
Yeah, and you
that,
just have to stand there and like, yeah.
and wait, hurry up and wait. And
Um,
that's the problem with not having a storyboard and not having a map, that you have to have increased patience.
I would imagine so. Yeah. So would you show up before it got dark to get the makeup on so you'd be ready by the time it was dark?
Well, I'd be showing up like I was one of the first on site, yeah. So while they were still unloading lights and things and getting things ready, the equipment. So basically, as soon as it turned up on scene, I was there, one of the first ones.
And it was shot in the summer. Is that was it in the summer or
Uh,
the
it May, June.
okay. I can't
So
imagine
yeah,
how. I mean, the heat combined with the makeup was it just horrible or was
it wasn't a lot of fun, no.
it? Yeah.
But
Um.
those are the breaks. I had like runners that were fanning me because we didn't have electric
Oh,
fans,
really?
and things like this. Yeah, so it had its moments. It had its moments.
Do they have a? Because like whenever a big Hollywood production shows up on a location, there's like all these trailers and like, is there anywhere? Is there like a base camp to go to? Or you're just like standing there.
I got a seat to sit in, and you
Okay.
get a lunch box. And
Nice.
that's about it. And when I ran out of cigarettes, I had to go and find my own.
Dressed as a vampire. Oh man,
Escorted back to the set.
that's amazing.
And told, don't let him wander off again, please, in full makeup.
Do they do like are there permits for Hong Kong movies? Like are there people stationed around the set? Like is it like a proper thing or are you just like showing up and shooting stuff?
Well, for this, you have to apply. You have to apply to use locations and stuff. So for the church, you have to arrange with the church, but it's private property, so that's okay. It's only the public locations that you need to get clearance from the police and things like that. Which in the past there wasn't a lot of it done, which is a great shame, because a lot of them relied more on sets rather than on actual locations.
Mhm.
So a lot of our old buildings and lights and things never really got into as movies as much as New York does. New York is like
It's
one
yeah, I
giant
mean,
movie set. It's
yeah, exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It means that you watch movies from different eras. You get that feel. You get that vibe of the city from those eras.
So For the makeup, was there like a room, or was it just like a chair and some lights, or?
Just a chair and yeah, sit there and sweat it out.
And what was it when they put the makeup on, or I guess just while you were shooting the movie, what color was like, because in the movie it looks very blue, but I don't know if
Yeah,
that's the lights.
bluey grey. I think it's also the lights as well. But yeah, it was a bluey grey sort of color.
And did it come down? Because I know it's like everything that you can see. How far down did they put the makeup on you? Like down to there?
Down to here, which was a bit of a shame because if you look in that crucifix scene, there's a bit where I turn and the jacket just separates, and you can just see the.
Oh, can you see the line?
It's a real shame. But that whole thing yeah, there was no question of doing it again, unfortunately.
I've heard that fake blood is not particularly pleasant to get all over you. Is that is that true?
Well, I think this was just corn syrup and coloring.
Oh, was it?
I think so. I'm not even sure what it was. It wasn't pleasant though. But hey, after you've been through 3 hours of makeup, it kind of feels like a pleasant shower.
Oh man. So when you get that all over you, the corn syrup stuff, I'm assuming there's not like a shower on the set. Are they just like, okay.
Got towels, wipe down, off you go.
That's great. Yeah. I love it.
No, it's very rough and ready filmmaking, definitely.
Was there like a big premiere of the movie? Did you go?
Yeah, we went. It was because the thing was that they used to do like a midnight show on Friday night to gauge the audience.
Okay.
So yeah, I went to that, and that was a lot of fun.
Did the audience was it well received when it came out?
It seemed quite well received, and I had a real Schwarzenegger moment because here's the thing, because the font size in Chinese to get the Chinese characters is quite big, and then when they wrote my name in the same font size,
it was huge.
It filled the whole screen. I was like, whoa, I've never seen my name that big.
That's amazing.
It was. It felt like Schwarzenegger. I didn't realize my name was that long.
Was it like that on the poster too?
No, I don't get a mention on the poster. I don't
Okay.
get a mention on the poster. No, there were some big stars in that. Ken and Emily Juboye. And
right, yeah, she's in A Better Tomorrow, isn't she?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Had you seen that movie when you were making Vampire's Breakfast?
I hadn't. No, I hadn't seen Better Tomorrow then. So, but I was aware who she was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's very nice.
Was she?
Nice. Yeah, very well-educated, lovely girl from the States, Taiwanese from the States.
Oh, is she really? I didn't know that.
Mm.
Did they record the sound on the set, or is it just they're recording the film and then they're doing like a dub afterwards?
They do a dub afterwards. So that voice, that Jackie Chan's voice,
is that not him?
Not Jackie Chan. So that voice that everybody thinks is Jackie Chan's voice, it never has been.
Some other guy.
It's some other guy.
So did they bring you in to like do grunts and stuff and like monster
No, they
noises?
added their own grunts. They're not my grunts.
Okay. Did you work on your guttural vampire noises? Or?
Well, I used it for motivation and to try and get to the essence of the character.
Okay.
But, yeah. Oh, did you see the bit where I forget my fight choreography?
I don't know. Which scene is that?
That's the scene when I'm lying in the coffin, and they come along and he's about to stay.
Oh yeah.
And then she's like, well, "What happens if he's not a vampire?" And then I wake up, and then he tries to hit me, and I grab his hand, and then he tries to grab, and I forgot that he's going to hit me with the mallet. So I didn't block for the mallet. I forgot the fight choreography. So I got smacked right in the side of the head with this mallet. And it's like, boom, and it stuns me. And then I saw white, and I thought, oh no, I can't break character. And I just go, ah!
So great.
and it makes it into the final cut. It's
That's
like,
so good.
you watch carefully, you can see I'm stunned for like half a second. I've just been hit in the head with a mallet. And it's
Now I have to go back and watch it for that. That's amazing.
Hong Kong movie making, that is.
Was there, I mean, was there a choreographer for the fighting and the stunt stuff? Or were they just like, yeah, just hit him with the mallet and.
Well, we worked, they kind of worked it out what was going to happen, and I forgot that block. So
Okay.
it was my fault, but
I've heard
I'm
stories about Sammo Hung like just coming up to people and being like, okay, we're actually going to hammer you in the face with the whatever this time, and it'll hurt, but you'll be better afterwards.
Having looked at the result on film of me getting hit with a mallet, all these years later, it was definitely worth it. And
Yeah.
the twitches, they go away from time to time.
Oh man, when you're done, like, so after you're hit in the face with the mallet and they're like, they call cut or whatever, are people like coming over to see if you're okay, or is it just like on to the next thing?
No, they were concerned, and Kent was concerned as well because he'd hit me quite hard. I saw stars. I saw a bright white light where I got hit. It was a good hit, and it's to be fair, it's not even a full mallet. It is a stunt mallet, but it's like it's still. It delivers a good blow, and I was supposed to block it, not let it hit me.
But I guess the result is worth it, right? Yeah, because all these years later, yeah.
That's it, and it's good for a giggle.
Yeah. Are you surprised that, like, when you were making this movie, did you think that this was something that people would still be talking to you about all these years later?
To be honest, no. It's like, because at the time I was told, oh no, this is going to cinema, and I'm like, will it go to video? No, it's not going to go to video. It's like, yeah, it was a B movie through and through, and yet it survived the test of time. I think it's that uniqueness of being one of the few movies in Hong Kong that's got a Guilo vampire.
Yeah, and it's the other thing that struck me as really interesting about this movie is that it's not really a horror movie. And it's about a monster, but it has this kind of like, almost reminded me of Guillermo del Toro, and then it has this kind of like mystery, kind of like gothic thing going on. It's the tone of it is really interesting to me.
Yeah, there's also like subscripts, like, the investigative reporter trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, and then you've got like the foreign vampire sucking the lifeblood out of Hong Kong. There's lots of layers to it. I think Wong Jung did a great job with this movie. I think he's really good.
And was that a deliberate metaphor, the foreign vampire?
Probably. I mean, I say probably because his layering is actually really, really good. The name that appears on the headstone in the grave that they go to visit is actually the name of the first vampire. So they'd had that gravestone made up with the actor's name and all.
That's interesting.
And the pictures that were in the house were him and things like this. So they'd layered it, and they put stuff around and Easter eggs, if you like. So yeah, he made a lot of effort on it, and I'm really, really proud to be associated with it. And like you say, that people still talk about it after all these years is like,
it's pretty awesome.
It's the win. Yeah, it's absolutely.
Do you know if it's been, because after I started posting about this movie on our Instagram and on YouTube, people have started asking me where they can find it. Like, has it been released on DVD or Blu-ray or anything that you know of?
It is on DVD. It is on DVD. Yeah, I've got a copy at home.
Do you ever usually feel like I need to watch myself as a vampire? I'm going to throw that one on.
Well, it's one of those conversation starters. It definitely is.
Yeah.
I was the first time I saw that it had even been released was I was touring in China with a band. We were doing like some events around China, and the dancers were in their room. I went into their room to tell them, look, you've got to start getting ready. We're going to head off to the gig. And I saw it on the TV there.
What?
And I'm like, what? I'm like, that's me. And they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, that is me.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it was like 1998 that I even realized that
Oh, wow. So,
it was
yeah.
still around. Yeah. I thought it had long been put to rest. So here we are, like 35 years
That's
later.
so
It's like
funny.
most excellent. Yeah.
Is it like when it first came out on DVD, was it like widely available or did you have to go looking for it or?
I don't know. Somebody bought it for me and gave it to me
Oh, that's nice.
because they saw it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was most. But I have seen it in some DVD shops since. I'm sure it's still around.
Did you point out to people in the shop like, hey, do a vampire face? Um,
No.
oh man, I'm just checking my notes here to see if I mean, do you have any other memories of making the film and anything else that stands out to you that was especially fun or interesting or
No, I think we pretty much covered it. The most memorable thing was being hit with the mallet, and
Oh,
and,
that's such a good story.
it's like, well, I am quite pleased with myself that I managed to stay in character. It, it kind of looks good on your CV. Can you stay in character? Yes, even if you hit me with a mallet.
Mallet. Did you do other movies after that one?
I've done a few, not so much because after that I went to Shanghai, where I was DJing in Shanghai for a year, and then when I came back, I've been back a few months. I had a motorcycle accident and broke my jaw in 4
Oh,
places.
geez.
Yeah, I had a really nasty accident, so that slowed me down a little bit because at that time I was one of the go-to guys as foreigners to be in movies as an extra or bit part or even supporting actor. But yeah, unfortunately that fizzled out. But the recovery was a good few years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Which other, I mean, before Vampire's Breakfast, what are some of the titles of it? Because I tried to find a list online and I just couldn't find anything.
I was going to say most of them they don't even they have a shooting title and then they'll have a release title, but and a lot of them I was just extra and TV work and things like that. I was in one with Stephen Wong, a feng shui movie. I'd have to I'd have to do some digging. But
Okay.
to be honest, at the time I'm just there. I hit my mark. I do thing and
And that's
go
it.
home.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. The only one that I really was really concerned about and went to the opening was Vampire's Breakfast. That sits on its own in that respect.
Yeah, that's
It
great.
was it was a lot of hard work and it was a lot of fun as well.
And it seems like you have nothing but positive memories of it.
Yeah, I think that's more to do with the mallet.
Everything has been erased.
It's exactly, if you hit someone hard enough, they'll say I've had a wonderful time.
Oh man. I mean, that seems like a pretty good note to end on, unless there's anything else you'd like to throw out
No,
there.
I think that just about covers it.
That's pretty
If I
great. All right.
if I can remember any more, I'll send you some notes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. Well,
Have you
Simon
have you
Wilson.
seen it? Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was able to find. I have a friend who is kind of like a wizard at unearthing movies that are hard to find. So I asked him if he had any idea because Arna told me about it, and oh, do you see the cat in the background? And I have a cat behind me
Oh
now.
yes,
Yeah, it's just
Black
wanted to come and talk to you. It's very ominous. So anyway, well, the short version of the story is, yeah, someone was able to find it for me. It was only in Cantonese, and then I was able to find subtitles and put those on it. Um, so yeah, I thought it was a great movie, and I'm really happy to have discovered it. And I've been telling everyone about it since I first watched it. So now I've created this like little group of people who really want to see like the Blu-ray come out and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, Anna's been a big fan of that movie. Bless him, because I met him at film school when I was studying filmmaking with Godfrey Ho, and and I said to him, "Oh, I was in Vampire's Breakfast," and he's like, "That was you."
that's great. So he's been a fan of that movie for a long while then.
Well, you know, when you look at the effects in it and things like this, and how the old school way it was all done together, put together, I can understand why. It's a good testament to Hong Kong style filmmaking, that perseverance through adversity, running on minimal script. So as I say, there is no dialogue in the script. It's just a basic plot outline, and the actors have improv'd all the lines that are in there. It's a great piece of work to be associated with.
Does when you get the like the one-page script thing, does it have any information about like what the tone is going to be or the ambiance or anything like that, or it just describes the plot?
Well, we don't get that. That's what the
director,
director's working from. So yeah, no, we were pretty clueless, but he will explain each scene, that like, okay, this is what's going to happen in this scene, and these are the points that have to be made and got across in this scene.
It seems like oh, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
I know, it just seems like a much more organic way of working.
Yeah, and you get the style and flavor of the actors a lot more, because they're the ones that are working the dialogue together. Like there's some, like the woman who plays Kent's mum.
Yes, those scenes are so good.
Oh no, I've only been waiting half a day. And it's like, yeah, and when you consider those weren't scripted and she's come up with those, it's
so funny. And when the two of them go off together to the kitchen and like tell him to just go sit on his own, and that whole scene is so funny.
And that Monopoly, taking your money off your family, it's like, oh. It's like, you know, it's like, how would you script that, right? Really, it's like, but yet when they worked on it organically there and then, it works beautifully. It works beautifully.
That's great too. I also think it's really interesting to empower the actors like that to know who they're playing and to not worry about you have to say this exact thing at this exact moment. And
so, there's the dialogue person going around after. What did you say then?
Is there really? Oh, because they have to dub it, right? Yeah.
That's right.
That's so interesting. And I guess that was before you would have any kind of small computer, so you're writing it all by hand, and then they have to go type it up.
By hand, yeah.
Wow.
So you can imagine it was frantic on set sometimes. The good thing was that my dialogue was really easy.
That's so good. Oh man. Well, I mean, this has been a great conversation, and I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And are you in the RTHK studio right now? Is that where you are?
I am indeed.
That's so cool. I saw a picture of that building the other day, and it just looks like the coolest building.
It's like 50s Art Deco style.
It's so cool. Yeah. Is the equipment like vintage stuff too?
Oh yeah. I'll show you my favorite party trick.
Okay.
Check this out. I know little things please little minds, but this pleases me no end. You watch this. Clock stopped.
What? And it catches up. What? How does it do that? That's amazing.
That's brilliant. It's hooked up to the atomic clock in our weather observatory.
What?
Yeah. So there's a little red light down here.
I saw the light go on, yeah.
That's right. Whenever it's out of sync, that light will come on. And sometimes it'll just pause the second hand for like half a second just to make sure it's absolutely spot on.
That's
so
wild.
That time is absolutely right.
That's incredible. Oh yeah, I see the RTHK logo over there. Cool. Is that like the Hong Kong BBC? Is it?
It is like the Hong Kong BBC, exactly.
That's so cool.
I've been here since 1989. It's that's another story though.
Yeah, we'll save that one for another day, right? Yeah.
I was going to say, I think I should write a book on that.
Well, I'd read it. So I mean, again, thank you so much for your time and for being willing to come and talk to me. And this has been great.
Thanks for having me, Will.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll be involved in another project and we can have another chat.
Yeah. Well, we should get Arna to make a sequel to Vampire's Breakfast. I'll talk to him about it.
Or a slasher movie. I'd love to be in one of his slasher movies.
Oh yeah, I mean, are you a big fan of slasher movies?
Oh, anything with blood and gore and makeup. It can't be as bad as what I've been through already. I've been hit by a mallet, for goodness sake.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, of course. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.